After 60, the more open and available a woman is, the less he sees her. But the more mysterious she becomes, the more he leans in. Men don't chase what they've already figured out. They chase what makes them wonder, what challenges their sense of control, not through drama, but through grace. It's not about playing games. It's about holding presence, a quiet power that says, I am whole, with or without you. When a woman becomes less eager to explain herself, when she speaks less but means more, men stop treating her like an option. They start treating her like a queen. Hi, I'm Vernon again. In today's video, I'll show you 6 boundaries that create exactly that kind of energy. Boundaries that make men step up, lean in, and most of all, respect you. If this resonates with you, if something here feels like truth, don't hesitate to like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more soul-deep wisdom every week. Your presence here means more than you know. So let's take a deeper breath now and step gently into the first boundary, one that quietly redefines how you allow yourself to be seen.
Number 1. Stop explaining yourself. A high-value woman does not over-explain. She knows that clarity doesn't come from convincing. It comes from certainty. And certainty is not loud. In youth, many women learn to justify their feelings, their standards, their preferences, hoping to be understood. But with time, you begin to understand something far more liberating. Understanding is not a requirement for respect. When you explain yourself too much, you surrender your power piece by piece. You turn your soul into a negotiation. But self-worth is not a debate. There's a kind of elegance in quiet conviction, in simply stating your truth and letting it stand without apology, like a mountain in the wind. This doesn't mean silence or coldness. It means you don't need to soften the edges of your needs just to make someone else comfortable. It means you no longer offer disclaimers before expressing a boundary. Because what you feel is valid. What you value is enough. The ancient Stoics believed that true peace, the kind that cannot be shaken, is born not from external validation, but from fidelity to one's inner compass. When a woman aligns her actions with her values, she becomes immovable, like a tree rooted deep in the earth. She doesn't sway for praise nor shrink from rejection. Her serenity isn't for sale. That kind of presence is magnetic, not in a flashy or performative way, but in the quiet gravitational pull of someone who has come home to herself. To be grounded is to say, I know who I am, and I no longer abandon myself to be understood. That's not arrogance, it's sacred alignment. So the next time you're tempted to explain why you won't tolerate certain behavior, pause. Let your silence speak. Let your presence say what words cannot. Because when a man is faced with a woman who doesn't defend her worth, he either rises or he walks, and both are gifts. Let's turn now to something even subtler, the emotional doorway. What shifts when a woman guards it with discernment, not fear? Let's explore that together. 2. Make emotional access a privilege.
Have you ever noticed how easily your emotions become a gift, given too soon, too freely, and yet rarely held with care? Women often give their emotional availability in the hope of building intimacy. But here's the truth: what is freely given is rarely treasured. I've seen this in my own life. My wife, Marie, is the most emotionally attuned woman I've ever known. But in our early years, I mistook her openness for endless access. I thought her heart was always open, always ready to listen, to support, to soften. And because it was always there, I stopped seeing it. It wasn't until she began to gently withdraw, not from bitterness, but from reverence for her own energy, that I began to see her clearly again. She stopped giving by default. She no longer responded just to soothe or to be the emotional anchor. Instead, she chose her moments. She chose her audience. And that act, quiet as it was, carried weight. It whispered something powerful. My presence is not automatic. My tenderness is not owed. It taught me a lesson I hadn't known I needed. That emotional intimacy, to truly be sacred, must be selective. When her emotions became intentional offerings instead of open streams, I leaned in. I listened harder. I honored what was once taken for granted. And that shift changed me. It reminded me that closeness isn't a right, it's earned. If this part of the message stirs something in you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever given too much, too soon, and felt unseen for it? Share your story in the comments. This space is for women who've lived, learned, and are still unfolding. Let's reflect together. Back to this truth: a woman's emotional availability is not a service. It is a sacred threshold, and not everyone deserves a key. When a man senses that your heart is not open by default, that he must move with care, presence, and maturity, he begins to behave differently, more slowly, more deliberately, more like a man. And you stay full, not drained, because you are no longer bleeding energy into empty hands. But what if the real strength is in pacing, in allowing time to do what emotion can't rush? When you stop chasing connection and start letting space do the revealing, something profound begins to unfold. Let's step into that now. Number 3. Let time reveal intentions. Time discovers truth. Seneca. In a world that worships speed, quick replies, instant chemistry, fast-track love, there is something radically feminine about patience, about letting things ripen instead of forcing them open. We are told to listen to words, to believe in feelings, to act on sparks. But the women who have lived, truly lived, know this: time is the only mirror that doesn't lie. A man's character, intentions, and consistency cannot be measured in moments. They are only revealed in the long, quiet spaces where no one is performing. Time doesn't just reveal others, it reveals us.
our habits of rushing, of hoping, of handing over our hearts before trust has been tested. A man may speak beautiful words. He may pursue you with passion, promise presence, and paint futures. But only time will tell you if those words are rooted in character or just charisma. A high-value woman knows this. She no longer rushes the unfolding. She understands that what is real does not fear the wait. When you slow things down, you begin to see more clearly. You notice the patterns in his consistency or the cracks in his performance. You listen not just to what he says, but what he avoids. Not just how he treats you at dinner, but how he speaks of others when he thinks you're not listening. Time is not the enemy, it's the filter. And when a woman allows space, not just for a man to show up, but for herself to observe without emotional blur, she steps into wisdom. She no longer mistakes intensity for intimacy. She no longer fills in the blanks with hope. Time allows truth to rise to the surface, like sediment settling in clear water. The longer you wait, the clearer everything becomes. So don't rush to define the connection. Let it reveal itself. Let it earn its place in your heart. And what shifts when your attention itself becomes sacred? When your gaze is no longer so easily granted? That's where we're heading next. Number 4. Make your attention sacred. A woman's gaze holds weight. Not just the literal gaze of her eyes, but her attention, her focus, her inner spotlight. And the more life she's lived, the more powerful that gaze becomes. Your attention is not neutral. It nourishes what it rests upon. It tells the world and the man before you what you find worthy. And yet, so often, attention is handed out casually, as if it costs nothing. But it does cost something. It costs your energy, your time, your spirit. Think of your attention like sunlight in a garden. Whatever you give it to grows, and not everything deserves to grow in your life. When a woman becomes discerning with her attention, she becomes luminous, not with the glare of need, but with the glow of presence. Her very being begins to feel intentional. She no longer rushes to fill the silence because she understands silence is not emptiness, it's clarity. She no longer reacts just to feel alive. She responds only when it aligns with her peace. She lets some conversations fade, not out of indifference, but because not every voice deserves a reply. She no longer offers curiosity to chaos, because chaos feeds on attention, and she now feeds her soul instead. This quiet restraint is a form of emotional elegance, and it's deeply magnetic. Instead, she learns the art of redirecting, away from noise, away from confusion, toward peace. Attention is the currency of connection, and the high-value woman knows how to invest it, not spend it. This shift, though quiet, has profound consequences. A man who once expected your gaze begins to earn it. he becomes more deliberate, more grounded, more conscious, because now your attention has meaning. And you become the kind of woman who glows from within, not because she's trying to be seen, but because she sees herself first. So what happens when even your availability, your presence, becomes something chosen, not assumed? Let's explore that next. Number 5. Protect your availability. Availability is not just about time. It's about energy, presence, and access. And one of the quiet tragedies many women experience is being constantly reachable, yet rarely truly seen. There is a dignity in being less available, not from bitterness or pride, but from intention. Like a rare book behind glass, your availability should signal value, not vacancy. Think of the great cathedrals of Europe. They do not throw open every door, every hour, for every passing stranger. No, they open with reverence, with rhythm, and those who enter do so with a kind of hush, because what is sacred demands stillness. When you are always available, always replying, always ready to adjust, you send an unconscious message. My time is flexible. My world can bend. But when you choose when and how you show up, something shifts in the way others speak to you, wait for you, and show up around you. You are no longer on call for emotional labor or impulsive connection. This boundary isn't about being aloof. It's about creating space for respect to enter. Because when you're less available, your presence becomes a choice, not a convenience. And perhaps more importantly, you begin to witness your own life again, in the quiet, in the solitude, in the moments where you are simply with yourself. From that place, you stop seeking fulfillment through others' schedules. You no longer chase presence in someone else's absence. Instead, you begin to value your own rhythm. And in doing so, you teach others to do the same. But not all boundaries are spoken. Some are carried in posture, in energy, in the way a woman walks into a room without needing to explain her worth. So let's go a little deeper now to a boundary that isn't declared but lived. Number 6. Embody your standards. In a world full of declarations, tweets, bios, boundaries spoken like slogans, it's easy to confuse words for truth. We say, I won't tolerate this. I know my worth. I have standards. But here's the hard truth. What we say means little if it's not reflected in how we move. The danger of modern empowerment is that it can become performative, a mask, a defense. We talk about self-worth, yet still engage with those who drain us. We post quotes about boundaries, yet answer the late-night message out of loneliness. The real boundary, the deepest one, is not in what you declare, but in what you embody. It's not in the rules you tell others, but in the standards you quietly live by. When a woman truly embodies her standards, she becomes unmistakable. She doesn't need to threaten or announce. Her presence speaks. Her absence teaches. Her choices set the tone. This embodiment shows up in subtle ways, in how she says no without apology, in how she walks away when respect isn't mutual, in how she chooses peace over potential. And here's the quiet miracle. When your standards are embodied, they begin to attract what aligns and repel what doesn't, without effort, without conflict. You stop managing energy. You start radiating clarity. This is where maturity meets magnetism, where a woman no longer explains, proves, performs, or persuades. She just is. And that is unforgettable. So where do we go from here? Let's gather what we've uncovered and close this journey with something lasting.
These 6 boundaries aren't just tools. They're quiet acts of self-remembrance. They don't ask you to become someone new. They invite you to return to the version of yourself that never needed to prove anything in the first place. When you stop over-explaining, you reclaim your voice. When emotional access becomes sacred, you stop pouring yourself into empty hands. When time becomes your filter, you stop mistaking intensity for truth. When your attention is treated as the light it is, you stop watering weeds. When your availability is intentional, you move from reaction to rhythm. And when your standards are something you embody, not just speak, you become undeniable. This isn't about becoming harder. It's about becoming clearer, softer where it matters, firmer where it protects you. Boundaries are not barriers. They are invitations for others to meet you where you truly live. And when you begin to live this way, something beautiful happens. The noise fades, the wrong ones drift, and those who are meant for you begin to arrive, not because you chased them, but because you called them in without saying a word. If this touched something in you, I'd love to hear it. Leave a comment. Let me know which boundary spoke to you most, or which one you're ready to embrace. And if you'd like to walk further on this journey together, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. There's more to uncover. And I'll be right here each week with something quietly real. Until next time, stay rooted, stay radiant, and above all, stay true. And I'm Vernon. Thanks for watching my video.